strategist Liz Mair, who runs the anti-Trump super PAC, Trump Card LLC. I was just quoting to you, Liz, during the break, that Richard Nixon once said, whenever you hear of a Stop X movement, bet on X. Aren't you leading an Stop X movement?
I am, and I aim to prove Richard Nixon wrong about that, in addition to many other things.
So you think you're right?
I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right.
Do you believe he's, in the words of Michael Gerson, defacing the Republican Party?
Yeah, I think he is, and inherently I don't think that there's necessarily a problem with destroying certain aspects of the Republican Party as it exists. I think that there are many of us in the Republican Party who have a real problem with the establishment and the way that it's run things. But from my perspective, of somebody who is a legitimate economic and fiscal conservative, I do have a problem with Trump and where he stands on an array of economic and fiscal conservative issues, and the fact that he is very close to Hillary Clinton on those, in some cases actually to the left of hers.
Okay, let me go to Ann. How do you review that thought, that set of thoughts?
Well, I think it's all about immigration. It doesn't really matter what a Republican's position is on, saving Social Security or how they're going to reform Medicare. Americans are being outvoted by foreigners, and Americans have been begging their own party to shut it down, to stop this endless immigration for decades now. Both the media and elected Republicans and Democrats have tried to push amnesty through 3 times in the last decade, and every time it was shut down, not by a presidential candidate, not by some big, media figure. It was the American people getting wind of it and rising up in rage. Donald Trump is the first one to finally take America's side on immigration. That is why he is sweeping the polls.
Well, I think that that's a patently ludicrous notion. I mean, most of the time when we've been looking at amnesty fights, supposedly, they've actually been shut down by a set of groups that are funded by a population control enthusiast liberal who is actually involved with zero population growth in the Sierra Club. That's who's actually shut it down. It's not actually in any way advancing the economic interests of the American people. Free market economists across the board agree with that. The only people who take the stance that Trump is taking with regard to immigration and who actually believe that what he's proposing would be a good idea are hardened liberals who adhere to the same economic policy line of unions out of the 1970s.
You want to respond to that, Ann? Because I think you're right in this. I'll give you a broader
crazy.
I think a couple of things. I think Trump is appealing to nationalism.
Sure, he's appealing.
No, in the sense that the country has been sold out by the elite on immigration, on jobs, and on these wars we shouldn't be fighting.
I don't disagree with that, but to say that it's just about immigration or even primarily
That's
about immigration is bogus.
Why did he come in that door if it didn't work? He came right in the door on immigration.
Not only that, if I could say, because that was his opening look, his announcement speech, announcing he was running for president was about Mexican rapists and drug dealers. His very first policy paper, for this guy who allegedly isn't giving us details, was an immigration policy paper. When he was talking at that values voters summit, and he said something untoward about Marco Rubio, the crowd starts to grumble and turn against him. How does he attack Rubio? He instantly goes to immigration. Every day he is giving speeches before thousands, tens of thousands sometimes, of Americans, regular, ordinary Americans. He knows what gets them on their feet. He knows what's getting him the standing ovation. And over again, it is immigration. To try to say it's some guy I've never heard of, and they're the only people who oppose immigration. No, immigration was shut down, or amnesties, 3 times now when the American people rose up and shut down the congressional switchboard.
That's patently false. It was driven by Numbers USA, which is a John Tanton-funded group. You can Google it and read about it in the New York Times. They have a great story about it that deals with what happened in 2007.
Let's talk about today, this weekend. What do you make about the fact he's talking about another guy who came in the country at the age of 4 or whatever? Ted Cruz, Rafael Cruz. The guy came in the country from Canada. Now Larry Tribe, one of the top, maybe the top liberal constitutional lawyer, says it's a big open question whether he should be allowed to run for president because he may not be a natural-born American.
That's completely bogus. And
like Tribe's bogus?
Yeah, he's bogus.
Why would he be bogus on this one? He's been respected up till now by the liberals, certainly.
Well, liberals have a vested interest in trying to kick the crap out of Ted Cruz. They hate him and everything he stands for, the same as Donald Trump, who, by the way, is another liberal. He just happens to have an issue with Mexicans. I mean,
how about Terry Branstad, the governor of Ohio?
Again, he has a vested interest. These guys do not like... Yeah, the Republican establishment hates Ted Cruz. That's hardly news.
Where are you on this, Ann? Where are you on the issue of his eligibility to run for president? This thing about natural-born, it doesn't say native-born, but it says natural-born. But then you have to ask, what did the originalists think? If you want to get back to Judge Alito and Scalia, what what would they? Well, you're a lawyer, aren't you? How do you do this? Go ahead.
Yes, and I mean, since my very first book, High Crimes and Misdemeanors, I find it, to use a Smith College word, tiresome that constitutional law provisions are supposed to be interpreted based on what we would like the Constitution to say. The Constitution is the Constitution. Natural born has a meaning going back to 1608. We have a half dozen Supreme Court cases interpreting it. It means other things too, but you have to be born within the country. And I've been saying that when Cruz was the only candidate I had. I had no idea Trump was going to run. So it's not that I want him not to be a natural-born citizen, but it's not an answer to you're not a natural-born citizen to say, but I'm a conservative. That could be, and I don't know, maybe I'll have to write this up, but I don't see the point. He's not going to be the nominee. The nominee is going to be Donald Trump.
Put that phrase in? And, excuse me, and why do you think, Liz, they put that in the Constitution? The phrase must be natural.
We know why. We do know why, Anne, and you should know why as somebody who actually has a JD. No, you don't, because in 2013 you were out there saying that Cruz was a natural-born citizen and was eligible to run for office. People can check my Twitter feed. I retweeted your tweet from 2013 earlier today. It's very clear what you said. You were right then. Oh, well, you know what?
Okay, let me ask you, who's
you were right the first
time? How about birth rates?
I'm a lawyer too, and you were right
Are both you guys clean on birth rate? Do you think Obama was born secretly in Kenya?
Absolutely not. Of course he was eligible to run for the presidency.
Did you ever go that way on Obama being born outside the country?
My newspaper, along with many others, shot it down. As you know, it was raised by Hillary Clinton. But if Ted
her supporters, including Donald Trump, and her supporters, including Donald Trump.
If Ted Cruz is a natural-born citizen, then there would be no problem with Obama being born in Kenya. So what was the issue with that? If he had been born in Kenya, nobody disputed that his father was an American citizen.
Now Anne is dabbling in Obama birth rates as well.
Horse race call, and you're good at horse race. What's your bet on Trump winning this thing? 50-50? Would you put a 1-to-1 bet here? Where is it right now?
From the week after he announced, I said he's going to win the nomination. He's going to win the presidency.
He's a favorite. He's your favorite.
Not a favorite. He's going to win.
Anne also said that Mitt Romney was the perfect and best Republican candidate.
He was. There was no Trump back then.
And she kissed Chris Christie's backside up the wazoo.
Until we went down on immigration.
This is not, which has
nothing to do with conservatism.
In fact, my ideal
ticket is Trump Romney. That's what I'm really hoping for.
And that's the proof right there that you are. And that's the proof right there that you are in no way conservative and in no way interested in conservative policy.
Would Romney join that ticket?
I wish he would. I mean, he seems to love. One of the things I like about Romney and Trump and Ronald Reagan is these are three men who, by running for president and being president, in two cases, I suspect, made their lives immeasurably worse. For most of these guys, like Rubio, what else is he going to do but run for president? These are people who are running because they love the country and they want to help fix it. So I don't think it's out of the question that Romney would serve the country.
It won't be a salary increase for Donald Trump. Thank you so much, Ann Coulter, for coming on. Thank you, Liz. You've been very feisty, and I like that. Up next, legacy building, a look ahead to tomorrow.